think it'll work.
Eh, There we go. Okay, we're live. All right, so the way this usually works for folks that are in here already, we'll just kind of small talk here for a few minutes as people roll in, um, and give folks enough time to get in here. Just a little housekeeping on the front end of it. Obviously, this is a Zoom call, but if you're a viewer, if you're someone attending this, your cameras aren't on, your mics aren't on, we can't see you, we can't hear you. But if you want to chat amongst yourselves, there's a chat box down there. Y'all can say whatever in the world you want to say down there, but keep it civil, please. And then if you have questions, there is a Q&A box somewhere. But anyway, we're going to go straight to answering questions when we kick this thing off, but we're going to give folks just a few more minutes. Beau, where in the country are you right now?
I'm in Kentucky right now, and I got in at like 2 a.m. And went to the office today, and I'm turning around and heading back to the Pacific Northwest tomorrow morning. So
Phew.
yeah,
Has the season been treating you well?
great man, great. I actually, it's been pretty good. I haven't hunted the South very much. I hunted Arkansas once. Haven't met. I took my dog out in Kentucky, shot a few wood ducks, but nothing. Been kind of just going home and going out west, and
Yeah.
did a little bit of hunting in Missouri, and but yeah, I got addicted chasing deer a little bit this year, so I knock that bug off. But
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't, well, no, I did hunt North Dakota a little bit early in November, and
yeah,
then all of it's been at home in Mississippi, except for these past 2 mornings I've been in Arkansas, but I just got back home this
yeah,
morning. And it was good, man. The weather's been, well, it warmed up a little bit, but weather in terms of pushing ducks down has been
yeah,
has been good. So the hunting's been good.
awesome.
So
Yeah, I heard that everyone's been kind of beating the brakes off them, so it's good to actually hear some southern duck hunting's going well.
I believe me. But yeah, there was like the opener in Mississippi was really good for us, and then it
Really
kind of it kind of slowed down. The weather not so great, but then the past week or so has been real good.
awesome, very cool.
Cool. All right, it is 5:04. All right, we'll start talking about duck calling stuff. And so the way we normally do this, folks, is we kind of have like I'll have like a set thing that to go over, and I can like toss Bo some questions, or ideally, we can have enough questions that you find folks asked, and I don't have to ask any questions myself because y'all here that are here and watching and tuning in are the ones that we want to appease your questions and answer your questions anyway. So y'all submitted enough early questions that I don't have to come up with anything. So I'm going to go straight down this list, and also don't be afraid to ask questions live. Again, that's what that box is for down there. Type them in, submit them. But until then, I'm just going to start going down this list, both. That's all good with you.
Dude, yeah, that's great.
Okay. So the first one, I can't, this one just is said, any advice about when to call instead of just how to call?
Yeah, no, man, that is the age old question, right? I mean, in my opinion, and so I think that's a perfect one to jump in on. Um, Obviously, everything that you're going to learn today, and we're talking about calling, doesn't isn't worth a dang if you can't read the birds, understand what you're saying when you're saying it, and that usually comes from being out there, right? But call them their tails. You know what I mean? That's not a
Mm.
bad thing on the corners. And I'm a little I'm an aggressive caller too. Like where I'm trying to get them to break the trees. I you can usually tell if they're going to do it on their own, but getting them all the way down below them. I'm gonna hop all over the place here, but man, it's the best advice I can give you. Number one is don't look down while you're calling. I know that sounds crazy, but I see meet so many people that there's some great callers out there, and they grab their duck call, and they're like just going crazy. Like it's absolutely doing you zero good. You know what I mean? You got to see what those birds are doing. You got to see if it's on the call them on the corners. Try and try and read the birds if they how they react. If you get them to turn, you know back off. If they keep on going, maybe turn it up a notch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if they're straight over the top of you, don't freaking lay into them. So
Yeah. Man,
yeah,
it's funny you say that. Like, I think a lot of people grow that habit early because I have a vivid memory when I was younger, and I was with a guy who'd been duck hunting way longer than me, and I was in like I must have been like 16 or 17 years old. But he asked me, he was like, "How you gonna know how you're supposed to be calling if you can't see what you're calling at?" Because I mean, I was staring down at the water and
yep,
and just blowing whatever routine duck call that I had practiced at
yep.
my house.
Well, and we're taught, no looking up. You know what I mean? Keep your head down and everything like that. But as a caller, right? Yeah, you run the blind. Or if you're a secondary caller, what I do instead of looking at the birds, I look at the main caller, right? So, I was at Ira's the other day, and you can see what he's working the birds, right? So if you see him looking up, he's off to the left, and he starts really getting on him, that's a good time to help him out. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
it's it's there's just a lot of different things, but just
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do is look down, in my opinion.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, next question. Um, what are situations where you would not use a mallard call?
Well, that's a great question. Um, for 90% of my other ducks, right? So my widgeon, my teal, obviously wood ducks, pintails, even. Pintails in certain scenarios, they react well to a mallard call, but a lot of times, like in the Pacific Northwest, and at times in Arkansas, right, they don't want to hear all that. They're very, very wary. They want to hear chirping on a whistle. They want to hear a speckle belly call or a honker call or a cackler call. You know what I mean? Depending on where you're at in the country, which may sound crazy, but they eat that type of stuff up. And the only time I use my mallard call is if I really truly need to direct them, right? So like maybe they're getting out, and I'll with a pintail in particular, I'll go something to just kind of turn them at the last second, or whatever. Because I've had a lot better luck with just hitting them with this little stuff. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? They love that
Yeah,
type of stuff.
the sound's cutting out on you for some reason when you hit the call.
It's
Let
probably
me
just too loud.
gotcha.
I'll just look at the ground like I told everyone not to do. Any
Yeah,
better?
I could
Yeah,
hear it. Could
yeah.
everybody? I'm trying to see in the chat if everyone they can hear it. I could hear that.
I've dealt with that in the past, but
Yeah,
for teal, I never grab a mallard call. And
yeah,
so, I'm always with teal. I love to have a few people because you get one guy is on the whistle going crazy on it, and then you get one guy over there doing your teal calling. And I mean, they and Jim Ronquist, he always said, he's like, God gave him a voice box for a reason. You know what I mean? And so, they make all these sounds for a reason, and then they're going to hone in on the sounds that are their species, right?
yeah,
And obviously late, January, from about this time on, single mallard drakes eat up that buzzing too. That's not your
mm,
standard J-frame mallard call. It's a whistle. I mean, the whistle is the most overlooked duck killing calls on the planet, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. Good info. Next question. At what point do you trust that birds have seen the decoys and you need to just stop trying to worry about calling?
When they start to Arnold, that's when they're carrying pumpkins or whatever. You'll see them. They turn and they get all puffed up. They start letting it out. That's usually the best time. But if they let it out, come back up and start circling again, right? A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll do the same thing I did again, hit them, and then I'll go all the way to the water. Just get them to butterfly all the way down below those trees.
Yeah,
And a lot of guys won't do that. And, if a lot of guys will say, don't do that. And, it's very, very situational, right? if this is late January and they're wanting to be by themselves and you're just putting out 6 decoys, it's not it. But if you're breaking a bunch, and you're trying to get that whole bunch in there, you need one of them to break out to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get that one that's eating up the call all the way down, the rest will follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you change up your calling techniques at all versus open water birds versus like timber or thick cover or anything like that?
Yeah. With timber, with timber birds, a lot of times it depends if I'm on public or private too, right?
Sure.
If you're on private, you can let them do the circle and do everything. But on public, there's 10 other guys around you they're trying to take them away too, it's all fun and games. So I usually try to keep them on the hook. When I'm hunting big water, I usually don't let off them when I'm hunting big water. If I'm getting them hooked on the call, if they're hooked on the decoy and I can see they're already hooked on the decoy, just, it just let them come. It's all comes back to reading the bird,
I agree, man. I tell folks all the time, it's almost the same thing like when we do the turkey calling class, because I feel like I say it depends or it's every situation is different a lot, but it's true. It's like, man, the best thing you can do is just go out there and put yourself in a lot of situations and you'll get better at reading what that bird wants. Don't go out there with like, this is the set thing I'm going to do every time,
And that's it. That's where, I mean, like me saying that you could call them all the way to the water and you could also let them not. There's a lot of guys that are like, stop calling the second they turn, right? But if you don't try it, all these different ways, it's just a grab bag full of different tactics that you can use. And every time you're using these different things, you're going to learn more and more and more and more, in my opinion. And so have an open mind, try the different stuff, and you'll find what's working for you with those birds in your area.
Gotcha. So these next questions, Beau, are going to require you to hit some calls. Do you have some calls handy?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay. So I think that they weren't hearing some of those whistles you were hitting earlier. And I think we've had this problem before on these Zooms.
Yeah.
Do you see, like on your phone, do you see at the bottom of the screen, there's like a button that says audio?
Let me look here. I see there's a mute button.
That one.
There's participants, webinar settings. Probably
settings. Yeah. What you're looking for is a setting.
Audio.
Yeah, you want original.
Noise removal.
You want original sound for musicians. That's what you want.
Okay, cool. I'm a musician. Cool.
Yeah, you're very much a musician. It's a super annoying setting, but that should fix our lack of quack hearing woes.
Yep.
Okay. So someone just wants, like, this next question's just like, run me through a calling sequence is basically what it says, I guess, from like if you're working birds to, I don't know, just run through a sequence that you would hit if you were hunting.
Yeah. So imagine, this is how I just kind of, if I'm just thinking about what's going on, right? There's a group of ducks, you're in a timber hole, they're running a creek, they're flying treetop high. I usually start off and it just depends on what call I'm running that day. There's versus a cut down versus a regular call. Mm-hmm. A cut down, I just go, and I want to see that first initial call really tells me a lot about that bunch. If they just go, you're like, whoa, get ready, guys, get ready. Yeah. Versus, if you're sitting there and you go, and the birds still keep going, I'll go until I get that first initial turn, and then I start to read the birds. Right. It's a chess game, right? And so let's say they turn, right, and a lot of times they'll make that first sweep on their own, Then a lot of times for me, I see it so much where I lose them to a creek or I lose them to a. And so what I'm always doing, and I'm like out of the blind like this, I want to keep an eye on that bird. And so a lot of times what I do is I'll feed at them. I'll go just to keep them on the hook. And imagine they're going around and they're getting over there where there's a gap where that they're going to finish. That's where I want them to come through. I go is what I want is right there. I want them to turn right there. And then once I've got them to start coming down through, if they're 100% committed, I'll completely shut up. But if I've got them just turning, I do this sound where I go. I'm going. And it just, I don't know what it is, but man, it goes like this, down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man, I hear what you're saying, man. And as far as like I think it's interesting that you're changing up what you're doing, like where like hitting them when you're trying to get them to bank into a certain area or where you're trying to put them. That's good insight.
Yeah,
And
100%.
even more so like reasoning, go back what you were talking about earlier, like you'd never be able to do that if you're staring at the water the whole time because you don't know what they're doing.
No, 100%. And you can get away with a lot. You know the days you can't get away with a lot. Those are the days when it's cloudy, dead calm, and you're going to have a tough day anyways. You're not going to want to call a lot those days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you get a nice sunny day with the wind. And then another thing to keep in mind, and this is probably answering a question down the road, but if it's big wind at your back, right? As soon as they get down there lower, that's going to be 10 times louder to those birds than if they're behind you or on the side of you. When you're blowing with the downwind to those birds, it's going to be, you can blow birds out that way. And so I just keep that in mind. I'm hitting them hard right there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my finger, cover up the end of the call. You know, just so it quiets everything down a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But keeps them coming.
Before we move to the next question, folks, I'm not seeing anyone say that they can't hear this, but just clarify, like I can hear you perfectly good now, but y'all can hear that, right? If you can't, say so in that chat. Okay. Yeah, they can hear it. Good. The next one, Beau, we're going to walk it back to basics. There's a question about just like, never like picking up a duck call for the first time. Like how are you even making a quack, and then how are you putting a cadence together?
Yeah. And so, you know what, it was super funny is I was hunting with Justin Martin the other day, and you know, you practice all this stuff through the years, and it's like trying to remember how to explain like how to quack. But I guess Phil Robertson, he said kin, right? Mm-hmm. He says kin. So it's like tongue goes down, tongue comes back up to shut it off. And the way I blow with a lot of forward pressure, which means like right there at the back of, like right in the front of my mouth. And there's other people that are like, if you don't want your call to stick as much, you probably should run back the hot air back pressure. We're going.
Yeah.
And the guys, the basics, you got to learn your quack before you can do anything. It's just like a yelp on a mouth call or anything. If you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do any of the other stuff effectively. And so just practicing that and I mean, for me, a lot of people like they move their hand like, I don't do that. I pinch the back of my throat a lot, and to get that influx, which is it gets a little higher pitch sound, which is good for me. That's what I like. But truly, just getting that call in your hand on your way to work, just practicing that start and the stop of the sound. And so hopefully that it kind of answers it. I wish I could have better technique, but I mean, like I thought it was pretty fair the other day that the way that Phil was explaining it, you know.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that guy anyway. He's pretty.
Yeah.
Same question, but applied to a feed chuckle or a feed call. There's a million different names for it.
3 different ways that I kind of explain a feed. Well, 4. So there's that's your ticket, right? So this was the hardest call for me to learn out of everything, probably besides like a front end yelp on the dang mouth call. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever learned because I couldn't ever do it. My call would stick. I run so much forward pressure, it'd be like, it'd just stick all the time. Mm-hmm. So what I found was, and this is kind of a cheat code for you guys that can do your whole, you roll your tongue, right? So what I do, instead of going like a diver, you slow it down. This is, by the way, guys, this is, if it doesn't work for you, but this is for people that really struggle with it. You know, it can be hard. Slowing that roll of your tongue down, you can make a great feed call. Ticket, 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 ticket is a good one. But what I've become very fond of the last few years is a cut. A cut, 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 cut. It's more punctual. It gets my attention better. So I'm using the middle part of my tongue and I'm going cut, 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 with a K, right? And so the biggest thing, guys, is to slow it down. When you're doing this, you don't want to be like right off the bat going as hard as you can. You want to just be like, that is the best way to learn. That's the best way to practice, and speed comes with it. It took me years to figure out even how to do that because I had so many bad habits that I had to break, right?
Yeah.
No, and so, yeah. And the very last one is so that cutting feed is very similar to what Kelly Powers does, and a lot of these other guys. That's who I learned that feed from, and even your cut down guys, right? The with a lot of rhythm. I like being very sporadic because ducks are very sporadic, and I will say one thing about duck calling is realism is great, and I used to think that realism was the only way. I'm a big everything caller. I just wanted to sound like ducks all the time, or turkeys, or elk, or geese, or whatever. But you know, the whole cut down calling side of things has changed how I look at that. You know, you're essentially trying to get their attention and trying to the very realistic calling is really, really good for high pressure birds and birds that are living in a particular area and going to that spot every single day. You know what I mean? If you're running traffic, or you're let's just say a place where they're getting bumped on and off a lot and they're just kind of buzzing around, just trying to get their attention is so awesome. So the last one is katika. So it's katika, katika. Slow it down. That one is a very realistic sounding feed, I think. And I slow it down when I was practicing it. It's katika, katika, and it's that K middle of your tongue sound, and it helps also not stick your call as much. Because as you use that ticket sound, and like you're gonna stick that dang thing a lot doing that because it's blowing so much spit, and it's forward pressure which airlocks, and it's a frustrating deal, and it makes it hard to practice.
So I can tell you from experience, again, like when I was learning how to duck call, probably same way as everybody, I made 1,000,002 mistakes, right? And yep. The ticka method is the only thing I knew. And when someone told me like, hey, you know, if you switch that up a little bit, you won't be sticking your reeds as much, and it changed my whole world. Yeah, because I was getting my call froze up like multiple times every time I'd go hunting. It was driving me nuts. It's like there was no way around it. So next one, tips on picking out like again, someone new to it, pretty green. Like, how do I even figure out what duck call I need to buy? You know, like what kind do I need to use?
I'll tell you, obviously, working for a call company, you know, we can all be a little biased, but I'm just going to tell you right now, the DR85 for a duck call to learn on, the DR85, the winch, those are great duck calls to learn on. And they are great calls. They will always, they're the one trick pony, right? But it kills ducks. It's a great call. If you want something that's going to have more then you're going to get outside of it. And when you find something that's working for you, my duck calling career changed so much, right? So I started with a duck commander, and I had a DR85, had a winch, and then I started getting into those single reeds, those crazy like daisy cutters, and it took forever for me to like figure out exactly what I liked, right? It just was, it was, I love the sound of the Haydells. They have that one, this, and the winch is very similar to that. They have that one sound, and it is a very aggressive, good sounding duck. I mean, I would say not aggressive. It's more like, I almost would say it's non-disruptive. It's like, they're going to either take it or leave it, and they're going to be happy with it. And if you're one of these guys that has a lot of pressure and you're sticking your duck call and you just are blowing it out, I would get a dang like molded cut down call, run that, because that's a thing we can do nowadays, right? Like that. I have a lot of friends that they're like, man, I just can't run a duck call, and I'm like, and they're red in the face trying to blow it. And I'm like, well, let's get something that's opened up a little bit, something that you can really put some pressure behind, and so what I would suggest doing is going to the store, going and messing around with a few duck calls that are outside of the box, right? Those would be probably your higher end duck calls. And if you've never done it before, any of those price point ones that are like $39.99, they all kill ducks. The Buck Gardeners, they're all of them. They're great calls, and they all have been proven to kill ducks.
Yeah. It's like the same way I tell folks when they're asking about turkey mouth yelpers. I'm like, dude, just go buy a couple of cheap ones with the basic cut configurations and figure out what works for you. And then you can go, once you figure out these work good for me, then you have something to go off of, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You get the mechanics down.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too, like that I can't just emphasize on more, you talked about it earlier, Beau, is like when you're driving down the road, preferably for your, when you have an empty truck, like just be practicing with that thing.
You got
the
it.
way you're going to get better.
And make sure you don't got a dip in or a Pop-Tart. that's just frustration. I know it sounds so simple, but man, if you want to get your duck call to where it doesn't work anymore, and for a little while, eat a dang Pop-Tart and blow that thing.
Yeah. Speaking of, that's a good segue for the next question here on this list. They're asking about there's folks talking about tuning duck calls and all. What they're basically the question. It's kind of typed with a lot of words. I'm trying to condense it down, but they're asking like, how necessary is it to know how to tune a duck call? Like, how often can you just get a duck call from the straight out of the box and you don't have to do anything to it? You can just go to work. I
would say that I could pick up pretty much any duck call and go kill ducks for a certain amount of time, right? When you have a corked call, there's cork, there's your Louisiana style, right? And there's all sorts of different calls out there. Cork is going to wear out. So if you have a cork call and your duck call sounded like the best call you've ever had, and then all of a sudden it's not, I would suggest getting a bunch of cork, having it, and be ready to change it out a few times a season. I know that sounds crazy, but if you care a lot about what your duck call sounds like and how it operates, throwing new cork in it quite often is very important. And I know that it took me a long time to figure that out, because I would buy an Echo or something like that, or even like that daisy cutter I had. It'd be awesome right off the bat, and then a week or two later it would start going downhill, and I was like, man, I paid a lot of money for these dang duck calls, and now that I'm in the industry, I'm like, oh, well, that would have been a really simple fix. And so, and then you get your layered style calls. They don't need to be retuned or anything like that. What they need is to be pulled apart and cleaned every few weeks, in my opinion. Like, I could go a whole season with one, but when I was running those calls, but man, like pulling it apart, I take a little toothbrush to it, clean all the crap out of it, because it's inevitable. You're walking in, it's dipping in the water, you're spit and everything. Just get it cleaned out, let it dry out. Definitely, and I will say, a honker call and a spec, you don't need to do that. You're gonna go until you have absolutely destroyed that reed, is what's gonna happen.
On goose calls?
Yeah, on goose calls. Yep.
Yeah.
And a speckle belly call, like you don't even have to do anything. I've had one speck call that, and it's same read and everything. I've had it for 6 years. So
That's man, that's so funny because you're talking about cleaning, your duck calls multiple times a season. The spec call, you're just like, it's good. They'll just run
it's fine.
it.
It is fine. It really is. And that the duck call. But I am the way that I duck call. I'm so prone to sticking that I'm like, I just got it, and I do care a lot what my duck call sounds like, and so I'm
Sure.
like, I want to be able to. I want to be able to get on a cut down, just pop, 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 pop. I will tell you, it's kind of funny. I went to work today, and my cut down call, the way I call, I went through 4 days of traffic hunting hard, and I delaminated that reed in half. It was like this. It was like teeth. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I didn't bring any with me, and so I went back and I had to get some more reeds and whatnot. And so just having a little kit on the side, don't need to do anything until it starts sounding not great, right?
Right. For sure, man. You wanna there's a non-calling related question in here if you want to take a break from calling questions.
Dude, I'm happy to answer anything. Yeah.
Someone was like, "How do you like scouting techniques? Like
Hmm.
if you're in a new area, what are you doing to find birds, to get on birds, just overall scouting?"
I'm a huge proponent of. I like going. I start I start at the Mecca. We go to the refuge wherever that's at, and I move my way out from that. Right.
Mhm.
So let's just say, what is a refuge? The refuge is somewhere that is not getting a ton of hunting pressure. Right. So let's just say if if I'm in if I'm out west, we have tons of refuges, and some of them allow hunting, right? But they also have a lot of they are literally built for the ducks, right? And so, and a lot of times those ducks are going from there off of that, right? And so I start there. That's usually where the mecca is going to be. Is that where I'm going to end up hunting? Maybe not, right? But at least I know, like, if I'm going to a brand new area and there's a refuge in the area, and I'm not scared to go sit in the poor man line and just learn it, right? There's so much opportunity in that way. And let's say I go hunt poor man line, don't do well, get out by one, then I just start pounding the roads and driving, and so I go from there. Just start checking. I get on onX, look for bodies of water. I look for rivers, and I look for agriculture. I'm not the right guy to ask on scouting in the timber. I'm really
Mhm.
not. There's a lot better duck hunters that hunt timber, and I mean that's what they do. I don't do that. I'm a river rat. I go and what I do is I'm a river rat and I'm a refuge running son of a gun, and I go and I get my dang boat and I run. I'll drive as much as I can drive, and I'll run the boat as much as I can run the boat. A lot of times, what I want to do is I want to find, if it's cold, I want to find agriculture they're going to and coming back. So
Mhm.
prime time. It's a I went through Illinois, northern Illinois the other day. I'm not even hunting. I'm not even scouting. I was going to do a podcast, but I'm like, I was driving and I'm just driving down the road and I'm like, geez, that's a big feed. I'm on this river edge and I'm like, just getting in your dang car, looking. I mean, obviously, a great place to start is around a known refuge. You know what I mean? A known hunt area, a known public WMA. Those are great places to start.
Yeah. The probably one of the, I mean, not the biggest takeaway, but a takeaway that I'd shine a light back on is you talked about, being willing to go stand in line, hunt the public woods and not do well and then carry on. So I feel like a lot of folks, especially if they're new getting into it or they feel pressure that you got to be successful immediately, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, especially if you're going to a new place, if you go somewhere you've never been to and you don't fit, everyone doesn't limit out. You're just putting a piece of the puzzle together. Like it's
Well,
okay. You can just keep looking, keep working.
Well, that's it. I learn a lot from going there and actually hunting. So I'm sitting there, I'm hunting, right? Say let's just say this particular area has a blind 15. That's the blind that I drew or the one I walked into or whatever. And I look across there and they're just getting in to that area over there. Pull out my map. I'm like, dude, that's where I want to be. That's where I need to start looking. You try
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's where I kind of, but being in there and being around it is just so important. And I learn more. I truly learn more by actually like on these public areas, like actually going and just hunting versus just going out. I mean, a lot of them, there's a lot of them. If it's a draw and whatnot, you're not supposed to be in there, right? And
Yeah.
so you gotta just go out there, embrace the fact that it kind of sucks, and you gotta wake up early and sit in line. And you may not draw a lot of days, but yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's e-scouting is like it's great for finding a starting point. But yeah, like you said, once you get out there and then you start really starting to piece it together, and
yeah.
that's when it can all start coming together for you. But yeah,
Well,
I like
that's the hard part about e-scouting is like, where's the water right now?
mhm.
It's really good for like just get like, okay, this is a good area to go because you don't want to go somewhere that is a desert wasteland, you know, or it's just rolling hills or something like that, or timber. Like I
Mhm.
say timber, I say like, oak ridges of eastern Kentucky.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. For sure. Um what's your opinion on using like spinner type decoys on pressured or late season ducks?
Depends where you're at, right?
Yeah.
If I'm in the Pacific Northwest, I'm running a spinner all the way to the end. They eat it up because we can't use electronics. So you use a pull string or a wind spinner. They are just otherwise. I'm not a big fan of spinners over water. If it,
Yeah, it's been my experience is feast or famine for me. Like
yeah,
some days it's like the way it works. I mean, we had a fantastic hunt this morning, and we started the morning with spinners, and like an hour into it, we're like, pull those things and get them out of here.
keep them on a dang remote. That's the best thing I can say because like on a nice gnarly snowy day or something like that, like I'll flip them on and off, and or if I'm breaking big bunches high, I keep them on a remote. So like get their attention, break them, shut them off to finish them. I
Yeah,
if I had to put my, and if you're the farther north you are, the better off that you're going to be on having them work too. That imagine you're a duck and you've been getting shot since September 1 in the face since the second that you were hatched. Now that's the reality of today, of this world today. They're
yeah.
getting shot over spinners the second that they start hitting fields.
Yeah, no doubt, man. One trick that I learned, that you probably know this, but some of these folks might not have heard it, but buddy of mine, one of the best duck hunters that I know, and I mean this is specifically for timber or anywhere where you're in thick cover. Uh, and he was doing this before he had the remote where he could turn it on and off, but he would like purposely put his spinner decoy up under some cover for the hopes that like the ducks might get, if they're coming at a certain angle, they'll catch like a glimpse of it, but they're not just looking at it in the open water, just sitting there spinning.
Yeah,
And
no, that makes sense too. Like that's Ira does that even with his pulsators. It's
okay,
really interesting. Like when they get really late, get a late season, a very late season aggressive, like cold day. He puts those into cover on the edge, so it's still
hmm
getting some ripples. But he hates having them in the middle. If anything that's throwing water up in the air, or even a spinner, he wants to put them off to the side.
yeah,
And so, that's a whole different game for me. I did not grow up in a place we use electronics. I'm like, yeah, dude, just put the spinner out there. He's like, that's what we do. We put the spinner out there and it works great. But man, you come down here. I will say we hunted the other day in Missouri and we left them on the whole time. It was great and they worked
yeah,
great. But we were 100% running traffic.
yeah.
So, when they're coming to there, dude, water motion is just so much more king.
Yeah, man, it like almost everything we've talked about, everything's so situational, man.
Yeah.
There's days that on the places that I hunt here at home, there's certain duck holes that I'm telling you, a spinner would work great one day, and then maybe the next day, it's like don't even think about putting that thing out there. It all depends on what the birds want that day.
I would say that if someone was going to buy a motion decoy, the last thing I'd buy is a spinner if I'm hunting water.
Hmm.
I'd buy is I would get water motion.
Yeah,
That's just so much more important.
yeah.
If you got dead water, you're not going to kill ducks for the
I'm
most part.
a I'm a pulsator and jerk string kind of guy. Like
Yeah,
if I don't have anything else, I
yeah,
always have at least a couple pulsators, and I always have a jerk string, always.
Yes. Yeah. It just brings it all to life. The ducks that if you want to set them down on the water, you have to have water motion if there's no big wind. Like I'm saying, when I say big wind, I mean like
Yeah.
anything above 15 miles an hour, you could get away with nothing. But below that, it'll stop, it'll start, it'll be, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The other thing too, man, with that jerk string is, and again, I'm sure you know this already, but for the folks out there, you're talking about realism, man. I mean, if the ducks are like over the top of me or they're looking my direction, I'm still pulling the jerk string and I'm not like trying to crank the lawnmower. But if they're like going the other way, like I look like I'm trying to make a wake zone out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm that's just some folks. They're like, man, it doesn't look realistic if I pull it that hard. I'm like, I'm trying to make motion,
If you
man.
look at a jerk cord, like they're gonna be like upside down, and the decoys will be sometimes, but they don't
Yeah.
care. But I
No.
mean, you look at ducks though when they're going hard, like they're chasing each other, they're doing
Yeah.
crazy stuff, and I like what we do a lot. We do that, you're boom, 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 and then I have a spot in the blind, and all the blinds and I tie it real quick, like just something, and then I can sit there, or I'll hold it way up here, and I'll wait, and I'll go and I'll let it go, and it
Yeah.
just so it blows out of there, and that they see it at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have done that before. Like I'll have tension on it, like have them all pulled in, and when they're over the top, I'll make sure they can see it
Yeah,
because
they'll
a
suck into
hundred
it.
percent, dude. If you don't have any wind and it's just still water, like good luck. You're not going to be landing any ducks.
No, it's a 30-yard and plus day. It's just so unless that duck is just doesn't care, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean,
and you'll get those every
yeah,
now and then, but I don't want to count on that. You know.
no, I water motion. It's more to me. Water motion is like if you're decoying ducks, not like let's just say let's say the timber where there's a tiny little hole, and it doesn't matter if you have decoys or not. I'm saying like where they can see the decoys.
Yeah.
Water motion is the most important thing. I think it's more important than calling any of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, Going back to calling
Yep.
for whistle type calls, Drake whistles, and any of that stuff. What is a good pattern for calling? And I'm just going to read the question directly here. What is a good pattern for calling? I always feel like I'm using the Drake whistle too frequent and possibly flaring birds.
No, no, don't worry about that. Truly, I don't think Lake. I don't know what your thought is. I don't think you can flare birds off of a Drake whistle. Truly.
No, no, I think you can flare them, quacking at them too loud or something, but with a whistle, I wouldn't think so.
Well, if you listen to mallard drakes, let's say there's 50 of them on the water, and if they're really feeling it,
Hmm.
they're all talking in January.
Yeah,
It is the most complimentary duck call on the planet. Like it just doesn't do anything but add to the situation.
yeah. It's also like it's a real. I mean, subtle maybe is the right word, but it's yeah.
Yeah.
You're not. I've never seen one. I've never been like they're flaring off the whistle. So yeah, I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry about that.
I don't think there's any sound on a whistle that's going to flare a bird. In my opinion, I have never seen it. I've never seen it happen. Maybe
I,
someone else could have, but I mean, where I grew up, the whistle is king, and I mean, they, you know, will it turn birds every time? No, but when it does, it works great. So,
yeah, yeah, no doubt. Um, have you had any luck with pintails coming in for calling?
oh, tons. So I'm going to show you guys something. So imagine there's a few of us in the blind. I see pintails. I'm like, hit your whistles. So everyone, you go covering up, covering up most of it. I put it in at an angle, my finger there, instead of it wide open. That's a teal, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of times what I do is I hit them with it. I'm trying to go bum 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 bum. It's up and down because they love that. They love that sound. And if I really want to get wild with them, I'll just and they'll just like, dude, I couldn't tell you how many times when I just start going hard on a spec call, I'm calling out a group of specs up there. I'm like, and I'm like, they're like, there's a 50 pack of pintails in the decoys, and I've gotten to where I almost will just hit them with it. I'll instead of if you want to watch a pintail flare hard, go pintail will go ooh.
Yeah,
No,
not today.
yeah, literally. That's how it's a very subtle deal, and I mean, I truly, I do not love pintails. It's the one waterfowl that just drives me up a wall because they get me so bad. But they're, after you limit out, you have them all day. But like in the woods is the only place that I run a mallard call, and it seems like I've been able to get them to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. Like in Canada, they eat it up. But and I will say another thing for all you guys that are out there. A good friend of mine told me this. He runs he lives on Savi's Island, which is in Oregon. It's like one of the biggest. We have so many millions of pintails there. It's just insane. I say millions, you know what I mean. But I personally, and I grew up with pintails. I had a pond in my backyard, and I would document everything I heard. I'm a nerd. I've never heard a pintail chirp before Thanksgiving. Never once. And so, we can start hunting. We in Washington, Oregon, we start hunting October. So it's like we have pintails through the whole time, but I've never heard them make a noise before Thanksgiving. And I'm sure some people have heard one, but I've never actually heard it. I've never. After Thanksgiving, they start going crazy.
That is interesting. See, I wouldn't really be able to weigh in on that because the waterfowl is one of the few types of hunting I've not traveled much for. Virtually, like 90% of my waterfowl hunting has been southeast.
Yeah, so you're Thanksgiving,
But yeah, by the time I'm seeing pintails, it's after Thanksgiving and they're chirping. But that is interesting.
Yep. Huh. And so like you're in Canada, I always grab my whistle when I'm in Canada, but I'm like, it's not doing anything for these groups of pintails. You'd be a lot better off hitting them with a duck call and a goose call, which the goose calling is a cheat code for a pintail. It works so well. It's one of the best ways. It works half the time better than dang pintail whistles at them. So,
good insight. Speaking of geese, we are getting towards the tail end of this thing here, and while these questions have been heavily skewed towards ducks, there's a couple of goose ones in here, and I don't want to leave these guys hanging. So here's the first goose question. Are there specific things that geese like to hear to get them to come in, or they just, basically, this guy's talking about Canada geese, and is there anything like specific to like try to work them in?
So, a moan is a great sound. I love that. I love hitting them with a moan because a lot of times when they're flying by, they're and I'm copying them. I'm just going tia tia. When I'm trying to get their attention, I do a lot of it's a lot of just clucks. Those are single clucks that hit hot. Trying to get them to get their attention. Yes, they're you're saying something to those geese, like do I know exactly? There's like a lot of I'm not saying controversy, but some people are like they're telling them to leave, some are telling them to stay. But a lot of times I hit them with that lilik. I try and get their attention, and when I get them coming, I'll either let them come or go. And a lot of times we're talking back and forth with that one goose, and they'll eat it up.
Yeah, for sure, man. So this one, I mean, and this is more like it depends type question, but it is a good question. Someone said, you were talking about reading birds and trying to figure out what they want. Like they were asking specifically, what do you mean by that? Like when you say you're reading a bird, what do you mean?
Absolutely. I'm looking at body language. So a bird, when it flares, is very, very, very obvious, right? You hit them with that ba 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 ba. But I will say one thing. Just because that one bird flared doesn't mean that's how the whole day is going to go. So you hit them with the ba 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 ba. You need to put that in the back of your mind. But it doesn't mean that, okay, guys, we got to stop calling completely. That's not what. Maybe you go back at the next time, it's a little bit quieter, right? And so when I'm reading birds, I'm looking to see how they react. So I hit them with a cut. I'll go ba 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 ba. And when I'm reading that reaction, I'm creating a chess game in my mind. I'm like, okay, I hit him with that call. Either he turned out of his skin, which is turns, bows up. That means he's dead a lot of times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or he likes what I'm doing. And so, or he doesn't turn at all, so I hit him again and again to try and get him to do it. Or if I hit him and he just kind of slowly turns, goes around, does a pass, and I'll hit him again to see what he will do. And I continually either push harder or pull back less depending on how those birds are reacting to the call. Yeah. I wish that I had a better, it's an age-old thing. And I'm just going to tell you right now, the only way you can learn it is by calling it birds.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes with turkeys, it goes with geese, it goes with honkers, it goes with ducks, it goes with widgeon, pintails. They're all so different. Dang pintail, you might hit them and go, and they go, and they just come down, but they hit the pintail 60-yard wall. Well, they sit there and they circle around. So you got to know that type of bird, that's what they do. Like, or if I hit a teal, well, if I've got them turned, I keep on them until I shoot them at the gun barrel. So yeah. It's just time in the field, man. I wish that the best way to do is like if I made a video of the bird actually calling at a bird and how he's reacting. It's just really hard to explain on here. If they turn, you're doing something right. If they're going away, doing something wrong. If you're looking at the ground, you're probably not going to do anything right.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, man, just echoing what you said, there's like these resources, like what we've done this evening. It's great. I hope it's been helpful for some folks. YouTube, you can find all kinds of good stuff on YouTube. Nothing will ever replace going out there and messing up, making a mistake, figuring out what you did wrong, and then having one do right and going, oh, okay, I'm going to do this now. Like just getting out there and having firsthand experience and starting to piece it together. Nothing will ever replace that. Hands down.
The practice is to build your grab bag so you can actually use the sounds. Yeah. It's not for I'm going to make this magical sound and it's going to work every single time. There's nothing out there that works every single time like that.
No, and if someone tells you they got something that works every single time, they're lying to you.
They are absolutely lying to you. I mean, we get under 10,000 birds and we shoot 7. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, there's tendencies that work well.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys, we're getting towards the tail end of this one. So a couple of important things. One, if there's anything that we covered in this class that you thought was valuable and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have, don't worry. All of these gets archived. You could find this on the onX website. I think by tomorrow it'll be up somewhere in there. Also, Beau, you have all kinds of resources out of you doing call-in tutorials, and you're getting a couple of shout outs in here in the chat. You talking they're like wanting you to make some of those in the field videos showing how birds react. If you ever were to do that, you'd have some supporters. But guys, Beau, you honestly, man, that's why we asked you to be a part of this class. You do an excellent job of you have all kinds of stuff from your TikTok to YouTube stuff. Like you got all kinds of stuff out there for people to watch.
Well, this is for you guys. None of this is a guarantee, right? This is for you guys to figure out what works for you and to learn and to practice. And if you can put in the time, it will, I promise you, there is nothing, putting in the time and learning how to call is not going to hurt you at any capacity. It's just going to make you a better hunter. It's just like spending more time in the woods out here. I'm going to go tomorrow morning, go check my traps for raccoons before I go. I'm spending more time. I'm learning the woods. That's just as important. Just live, breathe, sleep it. Learn how to build that grab bag up so that if you're in any situation, you see a dang wood duck go by and you go, is it going to work every single time? No, but they do come into a dang call. So.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. And Beau, man, thank you. Good luck to you the rest of the season. All of you out there that most everyone stuck around. Thank y'all for tuning in, and stay safe out there. And Merry Christmas. It's almost Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me on, guys.
See y'all.